Hi, this is Ryan Lumpkin doing my informative speech. The topic I've chose is parenting styles and like how they can affect a child. Um, Even though like I might not be a parent, I do have friends and like I've seen different parenting styles and I can see how they can affect a kid and how it determines how they turn out as an adult. So I'm gonna tell you some of the stuff about them. Um, there's three types. You got authoritarian, permissive, and authoritative. Each of them have their set of pros and cons, and I'm going to go over a little bit about each of them. The first one that I mentioned was authoritarian. This is the style that's like super strict, over the top, always controlling what their child does and making sure they do what's right, which is good. You know, you don't want a kid that runs all over the place, but they're raising their kid and they're really strict on them, and this can have good and bad effects on a child. The good effects is these kids tend to have higher test scores and better grades because their parents are so on top of them about grades and doing the right thing. Um, Cons, bad things about this parenting style is these children end up growing up with higher risk of having anger issues, depression, and they honestly have trust issues because a lot of times their parents are so tough on them that they don't ever really have full trust in their parents as people. They just see them as these people that are over the top of them and try to control their life, and they kind of have trust issues when they grow up. And so that brings me to the complete opposite, which is a permissive parent. This parent, no rules at all, lets their kid run around like a hooligan, do whatever they want, go out, get in trouble, smoke, drink, and don't really ever have precautions for what they do wrong. This can also be a good and a bad style of parenting depending on how it's used. Some of the good things is like these children do have higher self-esteem. They have higher, you know, they feel better about themselves. They're easier to make friends. They trust easily and like they feel loved like as a child. But these kids also can grow up to have problems with authority figures like principals or police, and they don't really care what the consequences are because they were never given those as kids. They also tend to be bad with money. That's something else that was found out. They have a higher risk of obesity, and they tend to struggle academically, and that's just some of the bad things of doing this parenting style. But when you merge those two together and put them together and get the best of both worlds, you have authoritative. This parent is able to love their child and be really fair with them, and but still able to, you know, enforce rules like they need to and raise their kid up to be right. There's really not any bad things about this parenting style. It really just combines all the pros from the other two: high academics, good emotional status. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with this type of parenting. And so it just shows that how you raise your kids affects how they grow up to be and what they act like and what their adult lives will be like, and maybe how they raise their kids. Each one has a pro, each one has cons, but like the thing is about parenting, like there's no perfect way to do it. You just got to do your best and hope everything turns out all right, and raise a kid with love. They're gonna have a good life.